Hey everybody, it's PJ Patterson here. I thought I would give you a quick synopsis of some stuff that I'm observing going on in the markets right now and around the world. I'm sure you're watching the news as much as I am. On the screen here, I'll just make this bubble a little smaller. On the screen here, I've got the new cases, daily change for the USA. Now, at the moment, there seems to have been a resurgence of cases of COVID-19, which is kind of interesting considering the US is in full swing of summer and the COVID-19 virus apparently was supposed to not, do well with heat and this sort of thing. So what is concerning about this is, if you look at this chart, that is a pretty sharp rate of change increase. It's not quite exponential, which would be sort of more sharpish to the upside, but it's certainly not flat. It's definitely not declining anymore. It is on the rise, and you're seeing higher lows as things get reported. So anyway, I think this is a very interesting development, and if you overlay this with the other issues that I've been highlighting in my regular updates around the fact that the economy is really just reopening around the world, and of course, because of that, we're seeing the rate of change of certain things spike a bit. Things like the unemployment rate has come down, people returning to work has gone up, spending has increased, other metrics around the economy have increased. Now, a lot of the media at the moment, especially the financial media, is seizing on this and saying, "Oh, look at this! This is great. We're recovering now. We're out of the woods." And if you extrapolate this stuff out for another 2 or 3 or 4 quarters, we are, back to new highs and all this sort of thing. To which I will respond, not so fast. Certainly, there's a period here, and I described this probably about a month ago, where we were going to have a bit of a phase transition from deep quad 4 into quad 3. And it was going to look a little bit like quad 2 because of the rate of change of data was getting really good, but it was getting good off a really terrible, shitty base. So again, you've got to watch this stuff very carefully as I do and put it in context of the overall macro narrative. So my point is, in this short update, and it's not going to be a long one, is simply to say the COVID thing is back on the table big time. And I think these cases in the US and the fact as well, if I just flick over to Australia, the fact that we have what I suppose would be a reasonably decent spike in cases in Australia. I don't know if we have a similar chart on that. Yeah, here you go. So, we went through this massive spike. This is Australia, off the Sydney Morning Herald website, which you can see a big decline. We flatlined, and everybody thought, yep, I think a couple of months of this, and we're out of the woods. And then all of a sudden, bang, like we're seeing that curve shoot up again. So, with Victoria closing borders and their case count ramping, which is interesting again because I think the winter here in the southern hemisphere and in Australia, particularly in Victoria, which is obviously colder than New South Wales on an average basis, sort of lends itself to the fact that there could be some sort of resurgence. I also have to ask the question, and I don't know the answer, but I would have to ask the question, is COVID getting confused with other things like the common cold, which the COVID virus, by the way, is part of just the common cold virus genome, whatever they call that. There's a name for it. I don't know what exactly it's referred to as, but it's part of that whole family of viruses. So I wonder if people are just getting the common cold or common flu, because it is flu season and cold season right now, and are somehow being misdiagnosed. Again, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just asking the question, is that what's going on? Because, at the end of the day, we have not seen this horrendous death rate. Like, people must have thought this was going to be the Spanish flu all over again. We just haven't seen the death component of this whole thing. Yes, we have seen vulnerable people, so seniors and people who are already sick and possibly already doing, really unwell, getting succumbing to this disease. but we haven't seen the death rate like spike with, with people getting really, really concerned about that. So anyway, I think that the precautions that are going to be taken now could very well tip us back into a bit of a market correction. I think one's brewing anyway. There's a lot of stuff under the surface going on right now. Yes, some of the headline numbers and some of the sexy stuff like the S&P 500, the Dow, the NASDAQ, and all those things are shooting higher and looking better. But there are a lot of non-confirming things. So, for example, the Australian stock market has not been doing very well at all in the last few days. I don't know if that's because of the stuff going on in China. We have not seen confirming. If we look at Asia, better parts of Asia, so Japan and Korea, not confirming, this big upswing. So, I talk about FOMO a lot. And one of the things that's going on in the U.S. is the Plunge Protection Team. You can look this up. Just Google Plunge Protection Team or PPT. These guys are government-backed, government-funded, and they go into the markets and they try to elevate them. And that's exactly what's been going on, especially around 2 to 3 a.m. New York time every single day. You often see a spike in the futures markets. Anyway, you don't have to worry about, looking at any of that stuff. I'm aware of it, and it's just a very interesting situation. But I guess just look, to wrap all of this up, I wanted to send out a midweek update because there have been some great success in the markets of late in our accounts, with gold doing really well, the gold miners popping, our interest rate investments doing well. But I have, as you would no doubt know, predominantly been sort of preserving and sitting in cash, because I know that over the next couple of quarters, again, we're going to start getting earnings reports, and they're not going to be good at all. And I think the market is going to have to reprice that. And if you add into that any sort of major resurgence in COVID-19, and I think we have a recipe for some really bad stuff to potentially happen in the markets, maybe another big leg down, that sort of thing. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying we need to be ready for it. And on balance, the probabilities right now do not favor the bull case. They do not favor the upside case. So again, I want to do right now what is critical is preserving cash and protecting capital. Looking for opportunities to make some money here and there, but only on small positions and with small allocations of capital. Trust me when I say this, because I know some of you I have conversations with, and I know you're anxious to get invested and all this sort of thing. The best thing to do right now is to be patient and wait for all of this stuff to clear up. Another 3 to 6 months of waiting is not going to be a big deal in the grand scheme of things. And the horse is not going to bolt out of the gate anytime soon. There is zero chance of that happening. So as always, if you have questions or you want to ask me something, please do so. You can do so in the comments. You can send me an email. You all would have been beginning to get emails now to review, do some review questions for us. And please, and I've had a number of responses on those, so thank you very much for that. I will be endeavoring to either book appointments or get back to you with any questions that you might have put to me. And other than that, I will come back on Friday with a slightly more in-depth with charts and some other things for you to have a look at, market update. But I just thought I'd check in on some of this stuff going on and let you know that obviously I'm paying attention to it, but I'm probably my nervous level around markets at the moment is slightly elevated. It kind of reminds me of what happened in early June, where we had this big run up in the market and then a massive smackdown. So I don't know if that's what's going to happen here. We shall see. But it's certainly, there's some weird stuff bubbling under the surface. Anyway, have a great evening, and I'll look forward to updating you again later this week and chatting to you soon. Thanks.